All praises, all praises. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Shalom Mashiach Yahweh Shai. That's who the word is calls
Hey,
Jesus Christ. I'm Dabaka Ward, and I got my brother,
Zamyar.
and we're back at it, man, with another class. And as the title of the class says, The Beginning of Sorrows. So my
Right.
brother has a powerful lesson for y'all. I'm gonna let him go ahead and get into it.
Right. As I was surfing, I was looking at the news, and because the Bible tells us not to be ignorant of any, big or small thing. So I definitely take my time each week just looking at the news and all the Trump stuff, and they're doing the redistricting and all these different things. And the thing that stood out the most to me last week was the earthquake. Right? They say this earthquake was the sixth biggest earthquake on record since they've been recording earthquakes about 100 years ago. So that's crazy, right? And it hit a lot of different places, a lot of diverse places, like the scriptures say. Um, and so just looking at that earthquake and the global impact and the global implications of all these things, as they say, I just thought it was something we should at least touch on, right? So I wanted to start with Matthew 24, just dig into it a little bit, because it's something we got to understand is that the scriptures say that all these things have to come to pass, right? Like the scriptures say, it's not even for us to be troubled yet, because these things have to happen. You know what I mean? And when we understand that prophecy, never goes out, and the Most High's word never goes out and comes back void. Then you understand when you see all these things that it's all part of these end time signs, right? So this is Matthew 24. Let's start at 3, right? And it says, and he sat upon the Mount of Olives. The disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows, right? So that's why I wanted to name the lesson that, because we see things happening every day, and we who stay in this word and we stay, again, just trying to be circumspect as best we can, while still, you're still going about your daily troubles and your daily life, right? But we see these things popping off, and it's been like this since I've been in the truth. It's amazing to me how, since I've been in this truth, everything that brothers was teaching from day one, you just see it unfold more and more, day after day, week after week, year after year. And right? And it's one of the things that makes me want to stay even further grounded into this truth, because you understand that when I was in the church, nobody ain't tell me nothing that's just popping. They don't, most of the churches I've ever been to, and I, because I was in the choir, we would go to different churches and sing and all these things, and you hear different preachers all the time. I can't recall, a preacher, and I've been around some of the biggest names teaching prophecy, period. I can't recall it, right? But when you get into this truth, you understand how deep the brothers who identify as Hebrew Israelites are into prophecy, and you see it happening all over the world, over and over every week, right? So that's why I named it. All these are the beginning of sorrows, because the Bible says, again, it's not even for you to be troubled yet. It's for you to understand that these things are signals. These things are the end time signs, and it's like the verse that talks about what manner of person ought you to be, right? And that's what it's about too. When you see these end times, prophecies popping off, what should I do? What is it I'm supposed to do, right? And also, matter of fact, I'm going to get too. Let me get this real quick, right? Because I think people seem to not understand how, once all these things really play out, it can be the blink of an eye when Yahushua returns, right? That's why it talks about, when the coming of the Son of Man being like in the days of Noah. And I just want to get that real quick. Let me get that.
Yeah, just to add on to it a little bit, like recently, like science that says it's this big, large, what they consider a spaceship about the size of a mountain.
Ain't that something?
That's coming, and it's supposed to be reaching Earth 2027.
I mean, it's what I mean. It's Pretty amazing, pretty deep, but even if that's the case and they're totally right, it still all plays in with prophecy. That's the thing that's interesting to me too. That some people who believe in science seem like they can't believe in God and science, not understanding that God is the one who set the science. Whatever's coming and whatever's in motion, the Most High set it in motion, even if it's scientific, right? But this is Matthew 24:37. It says, "But as the days of Noah, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage until the day Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be," right? And that's what we don't understand, is that we so caught up in our daily lives that you don't understand it's going to happen like a thief in the night. It's going to happen at the blink of an eye. When he's ready, it ain't going to be no time to go and get ready. Right? So we got to spend our time now preparing ourselves. We got to spend our time now, like they say, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. That's the mindset we got to be in, right? Because you see these things happening. And like I said, for us to be in 2025, and you think of, thousands of years of history, and they say the sixth biggest earthquake that ever happened just happened. I mean, these kind of things should at least raise your antennas, right? But again, so that saying, this is the beginning of sorrows, right? This kind of, this describes so much is going on. So again, this is just last Tuesday, this earthquake happened, and it's had a global impact, right? When you think about the fact that an earthquake was so strong that it hit all the way from Russia to Hawaii, and they was worried about the tsunamis being so bad that they even thought it could be an issue for LA. So we're talking about United States, you're talking about Russia, you talking about all over the world. This thing has had some impact, right? There's videos online of some places in Russia that's like, I'm telling you, they got decimated. You know what I mean? So it's just, again, we got to be circumspect. These things should at the very least raise our antennas, right? At the very least, it should do that for you, right? But because it's almost too like, the thing about an earthquake too is that you have the quake, then it starts with tsunamis, and then people don't understand this too. I looked this up, right? I was wondering how long after an earthquake would an aftershock come, and the facts of an aftershock said it can come anywhere from days to weeks to months to even years after an earthquake this big. So you could have tremors and aftershocks for the next year or two, and it's all still stemming from this one giant quake, right? So you're never out of it's not like you out of the path of danger because the quake has already happened, right? The residual effects of this quake could play out for a long time, right? It's like even when you look at that tsunami that happened in Indonesia in what, like 2005, right? Almost 2004, maybe 21 years ago, something like that, right? And that it was the same thing happened. It was an underwater earthquake that caused a tsunami so big that it killed 230,000 people, right? And this is in our lifetime. This ain't something we're reading about in the history books. This was in our lifetimes, right? You see something that giant and that crazy happen, like I said, the very least it should be, your antenna should be raised. And I say all the time that one man's judgment, is another man's warning, right? You see that kind of thing happening, you should definitely want to check yourself, right? But again, all these things are prophesied to happen. These are the beginnings of sorrows, right? Even something that happened over 20 years ago, it's all part of the end time signs, right? This is Matthew 16:1. It says, the Pharisees also with the Sadducees came and tempting desired him that he would show them a sign from heaven. It says, he answered and said unto them, when it is evening, ye say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the signs of the times, right? So even something that happened 20 years ago, that's still considered part of these last days, right? Because 20 years is a extremely small fraction of time to the Most High, right? 2 Peter 3:8 says, but beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day, right? So when people say things like, man, people been talking about the end time for forever. I mean, that's true. But these last days is still a very small fraction of time to the Most High, right? Since I was a kid, I've heard people talking about the end time. So, I mean, it's a true statement. But that's because we don't understand how the Most High exists outside of time in the first place. So 20 years, 40 years, that ain't nothing to the Most High. You talking about seconds to the Most High. You know, a kid who's 10 years old, you talking about, that's like milliseconds to the Most High. That ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we feel like, well, we've been hearing this forever, because again, to the Most High, it's a small fraction of time, right? But you know, like even when you think about us being over here for the 400 plus years we've been here, that's nothing to the Most High, right? That's half a day, if you will, to the Most High. That's nothing, right? But we think that, you know, in our eyes, in the way we view time, that we, you know, we feel like it's this long, painstaking thing that we go through. But like again, you got to think about an entity that exists outside of time, that has always existed. This ain't nothing, right? But the bottom line is, you know, everything that must come to pass. You know, the suffering, right? The sorrow, right? It all sets up the Most High's kingdom that's going to be ruled over by His Son, right? By our Messiah, by our Savior, right? And just like when Yahushua predicted, it's funny because I was talking about this with somebody I know the other day anyway. But it's like when Yahushua predicted Judas betraying him, right? It was him telling you, when you see this come to pass, you'll understand that I really am He. And it's the same thing with prophecies. You see certain things come to pass, and you understand the Most High is all over this book, and you understand the Most High is that one true God. And I don't mean that there's no other gods, but He's the Most High God. He's the most important God, if you will, right, of all time, right? But matter of fact, I wanted to get that too, right, because I thought it was pretty good. This is John 13:19. It says, now I tell you before it come, right? That's what we're talking about. This is what prophecy is about. Is the Most High, it's almost the Most High flexing His muscle a little bit. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. So when you see it happen, you can't say nothing. You know, you know that it is what it is, right? It says, John 13:19 says, now I tell you before it come, that when it come to pass, ye may believe that I am He, right? So same thing happened with Christ. He said, listen, I'm going to tell you what's about to happen. So when you see it happen, now you can, if you had any questions, this should alleviate certain questions. And prophecy does the same thing. When you go back and you dig into some of the things that happened to our people that was told, you know, hundreds of years before they happened, you know, like the slave trade or like certain, you know, captivities that we've gone in, they were always predicted and prophesied, right? So that's the Most High way of saying, okay, I told you what it is. Now, when you see this, now if you got any doubts, they should be alleviated, right? So again, you know, when you see something like this happen, it's like, again, you just have to believe, right? But these are different ways that the Most High shows His power. But again, the different things we see happening, whether it be geopolitical or the civil unrest in all these different areas, right? Or the different diseases. I just seen in Florida, they keep talking about people who are getting infected just in the bodies of water with flesh-eating bacteria. People having to get their limbs cut off, you know, legs cut off, arms cut off, fingers cut off. One lady had to get her lips cut off, right? Some people literally just straight up died from flesh-eating bacteria in different bodies of water in Florida down the street, right? But these different, you know, pestilences and diseases, and you see so many things happening at one time that it can almost fatigue you a little bit, because it's just a lot going on, you know? And then again, a lot going on inside of your own daily life with your own daily struggles, right? But that's why the Most High tells you not to be ignorant of anything big or small. Even though you got your own daily struggles, you got to keep your eyes on the prize. You got to keep your eyes on what's going on out here, right? But again,
I got a precept.
Bet.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 46, verse 10. I'm going to read it in the NLT. It says, only I can tell you the future before it even happens. Everything I plan will come to pass, for I do whatever I wish.
Well, I do whatever I wish, right? And I mean, and that's the thing about, like I said, sometimes it's the Most High almost flexing His power just a little bit, because He's letting you know, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. And I'm going to do exactly what I want to do. And I'm going to tell you what I want to do. And I'm going to tell you it's going to come to pass. And then when you see it, it should, just like we talk about, you know, the word strengthening your faith. That's what it should do. When you read about these prophecies that was prophesied before they happened and then came to pass, or you read about the ones that are prophesied to happen and you slowly see them happen. And really, it's not even that slow no more. Things is happening at a nice pace, right? But again, you should understand how powerful the Most High is. You should see that, you know, this one entity who's able to tell you whatever it is ahead of time, that he's the only one like that. Nobody else can't do that. right? So it's him flexing his muscle in a very small way, because that ain't nothing to the Most High, right? But again, like he said, he gonna do what he want. And when you see these things happen, again, at the very least, it should raise your antenna, right?
Yeah. That's why he said at the beginning of the verse, he says, only I can tell you the future before it even happens.
Only I. You know what I'm saying? He's separating himself from any other entity or deity that because we say all the time, and the Bible, teaches that there be gods many, but he's separating himself from those gods that be many, right? Because only he can tell you what's about to happen tomorrow. They can't do that, right? And you got certain deities who certain nations put over themselves who actually ain't even deities, right? It's like that. What was it, Dagon or whatever? When he kept when he knocked over in the temple, and he came over and he came back and he was smashing the pieces or whatever that god was. I always forget the name of that. But it's some of these guys, some of these.
Talking about Bel and the Dragon.
Is that what it was? I can't remember. I can't remember which. It might have been Bel and the Dragon, but I just remember the story about I always confuse this story a little bit, but when they thought that their god was eating the sacrifice and stuff, but it was actually
that's Bel and the Dragon,
right?
In the Apocrypha,
right?
It's when Daniel was a young man. This is how Daniel came on the scene,
right? Exactly, right. And I just thought, and my point was just that there are certain entities that people put over themselves that really ain't even deities. There are actual deities the Most High made, but some things that people put over themselves are just gods they carved out of wood and stone or metal or brass or whatever it is. They're not even actual entities. So again, it's the Most High separating himself from those false entities, those false deities, as well as the ones that he did create to rule over other nations, right? None of those can do what the Most High does when you talk about being able to, when you talk about anything, but when you talk about being able to predict what's coming next, none of those can do that, right?
Yeah. So like, shout out to Hassaj in the chat. Hassaj just posted Isaiah 46, 9 through 10. I just read that verse, bro.
God.
And it's in the NOT. We have the same link.
God, hey, brothers in the spirit, man. And that's the thing about it, man. And that's the thing about how the spirit works sometimes. Like, it's been many times me and Debat been at camp, and mine is on the exact same verse. And he said, I was just going to tell you to get that. You know what I mean? So that's how the spirit works, though. You know what I'm saying? And but again, you know what I mean? I don't want to derail the conversation just yet. So again, we just have to understand that these things must come to pass, right? This is Matthew 24 and 15. In the CEV, I want to do this, right? It says, someday you will see that horrible thing in the holy place, just as the prophet Daniel said. It says, everyone who reads this must try to understand. If you are living in Judea at that time, run to the mountains. If you are on the roof of your house, don't go inside to get anything. If you are out in the field, don't go back for your coat. It will be a terrible time for women who are expecting babies or nursing young children, and pray that you won't have to escape in winter or Sabbath. This will be the worst time of suffering since the beginning of the world, and nothing this terrible will ever happen again. It says, if God doesn't make the time shorter, no one will be left alive. Because of God's chosen ones, he will make the time shorter. Someone may say, here is the Messiah, or there he is, but don't believe it. False messiahs and false prophets will come and work great miracles and signs. They will even try to fool God's chosen ones. But I have warned you ahead of time. If you are told the Messiah is out in the desert, don't go there. And if you are told he is in some secret place, don't believe it, right? The coming of the Son of Man will be like lightning that can be seen from east to west. And we just talking about how every eye gonna see it, but it's gonna happen at the drop of an eye, right? Verse 1 says, where there's a corpse, there will always be vultures. So this prophesied suffering is what Matthew 24 and 5 through 8 is talking about, right? When it says that not for, to not be troubled, but, for all these things must come to pass, right? So I want to look at a couple other things where, just describe, Yahushua coming, right? And this is, I wanted to do this in Mark. We could do this in a couple places, but I really wanted to do this in Mark, right? This is Mark 13 and 24, right? It says, but in those days after that tribulation, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of heavens will be shaken, right? Powers of heavens will be shaken. At that time, they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory, and he will send out the angels to gather his elect, from the four winds, from the ends of the earth to the ends of heaven. So again, the beautiful thing about these prophecies and these different disasters and things that are prophesied and predicted, if you will, to come, the different pestilences, the different wars and rumors of wars, it's all about, our Lord and Savior returning to avenge his people and to gather his people, like he just said in that last verse, right? And he will send out the angels to gather his elect from the four winds, from the ends of the earth, to the ends of heaven, right? So it's all about, when you talk about these things must come to pass, it's about that desired result that we always talk about, that mercy that we're looking for. And that can't happen until these things come to pass. And then Yahushua will come and gather us, right? And then he will, subdue these kingdoms and make them all kingdoms under him, right? It's like, I think sometimes when especially, like I said, having a church background, I always thought it would just be like, this rapture happened and everybody get taken up. And, it's like, it's so many things when you talk about prophecy that have to happen before any salvation comes to us, right? It's different things that just have to play out. And then even once we are saved, it's so many things that have to come out before, Yahushua can actually really fully implement his kingdom, right? But again, it's all about the prophecies, right? And so and I want to get that in Daniel too, because it talks about him subduing these kingdoms and all those different things, right?
I got a precept from the chat from Assad.
Bet.
He got 1 Peter 4:7 in the GWT.
Mm-hmm.
It says, the end of everything is near. Therefore, practice self-control and keep your mind clear so that you can pray.
That's simple and a dagger. It's simple and a dagger. Like, really, you know what I mean? And that's what we're talking about, is that, when you see these things happening, it should at least raise your antenna. And honestly, it should be doing a little more than that. Is far into that fourth quarter that we are in, right? It should do a little more than that. It should make you really want to get up here and prepare yourself and make the necessary changes to get that mercy that we all talk about. Like, that's the mercy that you want, right? Is that when the shit hits the fan, forgive my language, right? But when it hits the fan, that's the mercy you're looking for. But it's not going to happen just by osmosis, right? It's not going to just magically happen for you, right? This is what the prophecy is about, and that period of grace is about. Is to give you time to get right. That's what it's about.
Let me add to it. Like, now we're in the fourth quarter. We're in the last 2 minutes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we right there, man.
We
like,
right there at the end.
Right here, bro. And it's like you see it more and more. And that's why I said, some days I get up and before I study or anything, I just watch the news for a couple hours, because it's just like, it's so much going on, bro, all over the earth. It ain't just America, right? It ain't just the earthquake. It ain't just all the issues with Trump. It's so much going on all over the earth, man. And, I would go so far as to say it's probably, it probably ain't been as busy on this earth, since the beginning of time, because you had certain areas that were busy, or that were war zones, or that were whatever, right? But it's conflicts all over the earth. It's pestilence is happening all over the earth, right? It's earthquakes and wars and rumors of wars happening all over the earth, right?
Somebody got a question in the chat. They said, "Shalom, family. What things should we be praying about, seeing that these things are happening?"
I understand. So, ask it again.
I think he's asking, like, what things should we be praying to see? I can't really. Yeah, could you rephrase it? It says, "Shalom, family. What things should we be praying about, seeing that these things are happening?"
I mean, all prophecy. I mean, whatever prophecy haven't taken place, you should want to. That's why the Bible talks about hastening the day, right? And I hear Deacon talk about this a lot, and Hassad bring this out a lot. Like, we're supposed to be doing because it's just like when I first got into it, I always hear people say, "Hey, you're not waiting on the Lord waiting on you," right? So it's about hastening the day, doing what you got to do. If you're an Israelite male, getting out here and learning, studying to show yourself approved, so you can get out here and teach and reach your people, right? And help your people understand that it's not going to happen until the elect is sealed, and that's not going to happen until we continue to wake up. And not just wake up, because it takes more than just knowing you're an Israelite. You got to put in the work. You got to do what you got. You got to go ahead and we're commanded to go out here and teach. Brothers don't want to go to camp every single week, but you commanded to do it. Sometimes brothers don't. I got so much going on right now. Sometimes trying to find the time to make these videos but it's work I enjoy doing, because I know it's for the right reason, and it's for the only being that matters, right? So That's what we can do, and that's what we should pray for, that these prophecies continue to happen, but that we get the strength and the spirit, through the Most High, the power through the spirit of the Most High, to be able to go out here and just wake up his people, wake up our people, right? Because ain't nothing gonna happen until that elect is sealed. So all we can do is do our part, put our brick in, as they say, right? And keep trying to hasten the day of his coming, right?
Hold on, one more thing. J-Dub asks, what time is the doomsday clock is? I looked it up,
I ain't
right?
looked at that in a while. What time it say?
It says it is now 89 seconds to midnight. That's worse than 2 minutes.
I'm trying to tell you, bro. And it's,
2 minutes,
and it's
what is
funny.
it, 120 seconds? It's
Right, bro. Like that's listen, man. And it's and to me, I can see it. Like, and I think that's one thing I appreciate about the Israelite community in general, is that, yeah, it may be differences of doctrines on certain things, but brothers see that writing on the wall. Brothers see that writing on the wall. That's why brothers are out here doing this work. That's why brothers want to get, some people look at these debates like I heard somebody say, like, it's just ego. It ain't got nothing to do with ego, man. It really don't. I'm not saying you may not have some pride in your camp or what, the Most High has allowed you to learn. Of course you would, right? But it's not about that, right? Brothers get out here and debate because they want to get it right. Brothers get out here and defend their own doctrines and contend for the faith because they want to get it right, and they trying to do a great service for their people. Like, that's what it's really about. That's one thing I appreciate about being a part of this community, is I see brothers who work in sincerity, right? And it's brothers who I believe sincerely want to see, want to just please the Most High and see their people get what their people deserve. Like, when we get the kingdom, we have gone through enough that we're gonna deserve it, man. But we still got to put in the work. Right, we've gone through enough already that, like the Bible said, we've gone through the worst things in human history, right?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't all be, for nothing. It shouldn't be to no avail, as they say, but it will be if we don't do the things that we supposed to do. Like I said, Most High ain't waiting on us. I mean, we're not waiting on the Most High. He waiting on us, right? It's simple as that.
Yeah.
Right?
Just to add on that topic he was talking about with the brothers debating, I look at that as like a family who have an argument, but at the end of the argument, we come together. So, we might disagree and we'll argue. It's like basketball talk, sort of say.
Right. Right.
Like, this dude's with LeBron, this dude's with Jordan. They'll argue and argue and argue, and at the end of the day, they just come back together. Like, that's the only thing it is. Like,
that's all it is.
At the end of the day, Christ will figure it and solve it all for all of us.
Right. And we look forward to that day, right? Yeah. But until then, you still got to teach it from how you really believe it, right?
Yeah.
And it may be that, even before that day, obviously certain things and certain, people will change what they believe because they've been convinced. That's what the, contending for the faith is about. It's not just to have a contentious, interaction. It's about you believing that by the end of this contention or this discourse or this debate, that somebody might wake up and say, you know what, that's real. You know what, that's right. You know what, you're right. And that's one thing about being in this walk as well. If your brother convinces you of something and you just refuse to change, that's pride, right? That's prideful. That's being puffed up. Because since I've been in this truth, I came and believe in certain things. And when brothers, thoroughly showed me a different way to look at it, cool, then I changed what I believe, right? Because that's what it's about. It's not about doing this and just holding on to something because your pride make you feel like it's a shot to your ego. It's about if somebody lay out the facts and lay out, your missteps, right? And allows you to be able to look at this through the lens that might be the proper lens, then you should go with that, right? You shouldn't have no hesitation about, hey, this is just right. I'm moving on from that way of thinking, right? And that's what was powerful about the debates too, is that I've seen that happen. I've seen brothers change and decide, you know what, that's real, that's right. This is the right way to look at that, right? So that's the thing that's powerful about it as well. But again, right, all these things, even these things, like even these debates, even this community, having certain issues where we sometimes be damn near split all the way right down the middle. Even that's, supposed to, it is what it is. All these things are supposed to happen. All these things must come to pass, right? This is Daniel 2:44, and I'm going to do this in the BSB, right? It says, in those days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. Nor will it be left to other people. It will shatter all these kingdoms and bring them to an end but will itself stand forever. And just as you saw a stone being cut out of the mountain without hands, and it shattered the iron, bronze, clay, silver, and gold, so the great God has told the kingdoms what will happen in the future, right? So again, we're still talking about prophecy. We understand that great stone is Yahushua, and that's what we're talking about. All these prophecies always still pointing to Yahushua, to the return of him, and what is he coming to do? To avenge his own people. But let me keep going, right? Just as you saw a stone being cut out of the mountain without hands, and it shattered the iron, bronze, clay, silver, and gold. And we understand these are different kingdoms, right? So the great God has told the kingdoms what will happen in the future. The dream is true, and its interpretation is trustworthy, right? And this is what all the civil unrest is about, right? These different kingdoms rising up against each other, right? These historic earthquakes, these historic floods that just happened this year. There's certain places flooded that a body of water is not even like right in that land, but it flooded so much that it affected areas who ain't even got a big, great body of water. These are historic floods and historic natural disasters happening right now, right? It's been flooding in certain parts of Georgia the past couple of years, and we ain't got a big body of water out here. We say all the time that, especially when you talk about Atlanta, being in this industry, I used to always hear people say, like, we can't do nothing but come to Atlanta for the nightlife because it ain't like y'all got a beach or y'all got a, you know what I'm saying? So this is what people come here for, but it's been flooding in certain parts of the metro Atlanta area. That's like, how? The Most High is how, right? It's historic things happening in certain areas, unprecedented things happening, right?
Like right now in New York, I think the subways are flooding.
Right.
New York is flooding right now.
Like you ain't never, it's crazy. You know what I mean? You get on the go and you down there walking and like water up to your knees. Like it's, you know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. But again, unprecedented things are happening on the earth, right? The number of conflicts all over the earth, right? It's about these prophecies all lining up according to the Most High's plan, which is, this is what the good news is about, right? Matter of fact, let's get that too, right? We go here all the time, but it's such a beautiful thing, and it ties into everything as well, right? This is Isaiah 61, starting in verse 1. It says, "The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted." Hey, none more brokenhearted than us, right? To proclaim liberty to the captives. No people have been more captive than us, right? Our brothers are still captives in prison systems and just different countries in the world, period, right? Like majorly oppressed people, right? To proclaim liberty to the captives and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, right? So again, this will all lead to Yahweh's returning and gathering his people, right? And passing out big cups of judgment and vengeance, right? And putting those curses on those same people who curse his people, right? That's what this is how, when you talk about eschatology, all these things have to happen for all those things. That's why we always talk about prophecy happening in a certain order, right? It has to happen the way it has to happen, right? So again, we got to understand that every prophecy in the Bible is going to happen, right? There's no such thing as Most High's word going out and returning void, right? Even the mark of the beast, where I saw a young brother the other day, and he's, it's not a brother who in the truth, young brother, like maybe 13, 14 years old. And, it's different when, let's say it was Ariah, right, who've been basically raised up in this, right? You're talking about a brother who ain't been raised in this, who don't have that same, mindset about the truth and about the Bible in general. And the way he described what he saw that scared the hell out of him, it was straight up the mark of the beast. He didn't even know exactly what was going on in the dream, but when he told it, it's almost like a play-by-play of Revelation, right? And it's crazy, right? So even that is according to prophecy, right? The young brother having that dream. Matter of fact, let's get that, right? Acts 2. This is Acts 2 and 17, right? And it says, and it shall come to pass in the last days, saith God, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And on my servants and on my handmaidens I will pour out in those days of my spirit, and they shall prophesy. So I saw this young brother, like I said, he couldn't have been no more than 14 or 15, maybe 15, probably at the most. And for somebody who didn't grow up in the truth, right? Maybe he grew up in the church. So I couldn't say for sure, right? But regardless, for him, his dream was like a play-by-play of Revelation, right? And I'm gonna get that as well, right? This is Revelation 13 and start at 16, right? And it says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, right? And we talk about this all the time. You go into that word mark, it's the word charagma, and it literally means like an incision, basically, right? And that's how these marks is going. This mark of the beast and these RFID chips, how they're going to be handed out, whether it be your forehead or your hand. And me and Debak talked about this a couple months back too. I seen a girl who was bragging on having a chip in her nail. So if you're already willing to do that, you ain't far from just putting it right in your hand, right? Because the nail's going to come and go, right? You're gonna get new nails every couple weeks, right? But it's gonna come a point where y'all gonna feel like that convenience of this chip is so vital to your life that you're gonna be willing to say, not my nails, just put it in my hand or put it in my head, right? And we talk about that as well. Like, they're gonna sell this to you as something like it's cool, like they do all the rest of this technology, right? That's why you go and run and get the new iPhone every time it comes out, knowing ain't nothing really wrong with your last one. Not, at least it ain't nothing wrong with the last one until the new one come out. It's funny how mysteriously, as soon as the new one come out, all kind of things start happening to the last one, right? But before the new one came out, the last one was fine. But
they
again,
talk about it. All of a sudden, you got all types of bugs. It's slow down. Battery don't work no more.
Right. So that's how they're gonna sell us this chip, right? You're gonna swear that it's something you gotta have in your life. You're gonna swear that it's something that's gonna make your life so much more convenient, so much better. And even having a card, like, how inconvenient is it to pull a card out of something and swipe it? It's not that's not inconvenient, man. But again, they're gonna sell it to you as something you just gotta have. And we are such, sheep that we're gonna line right up to get it, not understanding what we're doing to ourselves, right? Which is another reason why getting in this Bible and putting your nose in this book is something you should do, consistently, because these things you won't be ignorant of, right? But again, so young brother said he didn't see like a chip on anybody. He said in the dream, it seemed like everyone had some sort of blister. He said he knew that everybody he saw in the dream had it, whatever it was, because he said, I saw like a blister. He said it was like either a blister or a scar on them, right? And even that fits right into prophecy, right? He's about a young brother who ignorant of these things and had a dream so clear that it's like he was sitting there just reading out the book of Revelation. But this is what the Most High said would happen, right? When you see things like this, you should also understand how powerful the Most High is, that it's things he's saying and play out almost literally like that to the T, right? So I wanted to get that as well, right? But he was saying that's how he knew which people took the chip, is that because he didn't have one himself, that he said there was no way to fake it and act like he took it. And he said he felt like everyone that had it just automatically, almost like somebody pressed a button. He said they automatically was just against him. And he said this scared the hell out of him in a dream. He said there was one altercation with one of his friends who had took the chip. And he said he was cool with the friend and cool with the friend mama, and the friend just seen him and just got irate and jumped on him. And he said he's sitting there waiting for the mother to just get him off of him. He's like, this my guy, you know what I'm saying? And he said instead he looked at the mama, and she was looking just as mean and just as irate as the son was. And he said everybody who had their chip, is like they was automatically against him. He said it's like somebody pressed a button and they could just see that I didn't have it and I couldn't fake like I had it, and they all wanted to get at me, right? And it's crazy because even him seeing all these people, with the blisters, like I said, it lines right up with the scriptures, right? And the prophecies about the mark of the beast in the end times, right? This is Revelation 16:1. And it says, and I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worship his image. Like that's exactly what this young brother was talking about. And like I said, it's different. We talking about like a brother in our camp who been doing this a long time now. But you talking about a guy, a young brother who does not have that same upbringing, doesn't have that same understanding, doesn't have that same level of even scholarship that somebody who grew up in our camp has, right? And I just thought it was amazing to hear him describe it. I'm like, man, that's literally what the scriptures say. That's literally what the prophecies say, right? And I don't think he understood how dead on the issue he was, right? But I want to get the same thing in the NIV, right? Revelation 16:2 in the NIV says, the first angel went and poured out his bowl on the land, and ugly festering sores broke out on the people who had the mark of the beast and worship its image, right? So I just think, again, the purpose of this lesson was to say, absolutely, inspect yourself, right? Be circumspect in general. Pay attention to what's going on. And when you see these things happening, understand what these signs are. They are signs of the end. We are right there. Like he said, I'm saying fourth quarter. I mean, it ain't even 2 minutes left, bro. Like it's really deep when you think about how close to this we are, man. And I'm so appreciative that the Most High woke me up and put me where he put me and allowed me to understand, the number one, who I am, right? It's vital for us to understand who we are, because when you understand that, then you understand the role that you play in all this, and you understanding that a big percentage of this is happening just because you are who you are, right? Just because the Most High chose you, and just because the Most High has some vengeance and revenge to pay on the way you were treated. It's like the scriptures say, he ransomed many nations for you, right? He's willing to give other nations lives for yours, right? So you got to understand who you are. It's a powerful thing. And it's why they want to keep us ignorant to it, because it is that powerful, right? But I want to talk about something else too, right? Because like I said, sometimes when I'm watching news, or I just go in the community and I watch different things, they all just like, I feel like they got to be touched on. I kind of addressed what I wanted to address on this part, but it was something else, and this is short, and I'm going to wrap it up. I heard a brother talking to, I think it was Ash, talking to Ash, and he was talking about, and he kept saying, well, no, we don't have to keep the law, just the moral law, right? So I just kind of wanted to address that, right? I went and looked up a couple of definitions and certain things. I looked at the definition of moral and the definition of principles, right? Since Christians say that the law is done away with, but we just have to keep the moral law, right? The word moral is informed and guided on a set of principles or rules or laws. So even when they talk about we don't have to keep the ceremonial law, or however they want to break it down, it's crazy, because these morals and principles are informed by our law, right? Our morals and principles for us as Israelites literally come from our God's laws. That's where they come from. Our sense of right and wrong literally comes from the law, right? So to say, that you don't have to keep whatever law, to me is crazy, right? So when you deal with the law just in general, whether it be, ceremonial or dietary or some of the sacrificial laws, or, it oftentimes deals with us, being clean and unclean, right? Or abominable and not abominable in the sight of the only one that matters, the Most High, right? So the same God who gave the set of principles, rules, or laws, right, that inform our moral code in the first place, right? So how could it be anything but moralistic to keep the law just in general, right? It's like an oxymoron, right, to say that any of God's laws are not moral law, right? It's like everything else in the Bible, though, right? They divided Old from New Testament, right? They decided and divided book, chapter, verse, and they categorized the law. And when you go back to the actual, original manuscripts, it's not like that. So all this stuff is man-made, right? You can't decide that one law is moral and the other one ain't. It's all moral law. Because again, your morals is decided from a set of rules and policies and principles. Those rules and policies and principles and statutes and commandments come from our God. So that means every law is moral, like it or not, right? Even if you go to your Blue Letter Bible app and type in moral law, you ain't gonna get nothing. Type in dietary law, you ain't gonna get nothing. Type in ceremony, you won't get nothing, right? So this is the definition of moral, right? It says, all right, so it's an adjective, right? It says concerned with the principles, right? This is what we just talking about, right? Concerned with the principles of right and wrong. We just discussed how our principles of right and wrong are informed by our God's law, right? It says concerned with the principles of right and wrong behavior and the goodness or badness of human character. It says holding or manifesting high principles for proper conduct, right? And we did a lesson on this too, right? Where people use that word manifestation like it means something magically happened. No, manifestation means you made it happen. It means you did something. And this is saying that you have to do works that are qualified as high principle acts, right? Or proper conduct, right? So it's said to be concerned with the principles of right and wrong, right? So if God's laws literally show us what sin is, right? And sinning is something that from Christians to Israelites is deemed bad, right? And wrong, then how could it be right to break any of God's laws, right? And doesn't that qualify every law as moral, right? We also keep seeing that word principles in these descriptions of moral, right? And so let's get the definition of principles, right? Principles, it says a fundamental truth. Love that word, right? That's what we call this in the first place, right? A fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation of a system of belief or behavior or for a chain of reasoning, right? So the fundamental truth that serves as the foundation of the system of our beliefs, right, is our God's law, right? So if we believe it's wrong and against our foundation of our beliefs to sin, then is our principles that inform our morality or moral code. And if God's laws are and principles are wrong to break, especially when we understand that this is the only reason we're here in the first place is to glorify the most. So what sense does it make for us to only be here to glorify him, but then everything he tells us to do, we break it? It makes no sense, right? But again, that's why I have to understand there is no law that ain't moral. Because number one, it's our responsibility to do it, right? It's a law that we do it in the first place. It's a commandment we do it. So there is no law that is not moral. So when Christians want to go to that, well, we keep the moral law, they need to understand they should really categorize the whole law under moral, right? And their failure to do that is what allows them to believe that it's certain laws you can break and certain laws it's whatever and certain laws are done away with. If you categorize the law the right way, then every single law is moral, right? There is no separation between ceremonial, dietary, sacrificial, whatever other name y'all want to come up for a law. There is no separation between them, right?
Yeah,
right.
They got the law separated in four as civil, moral, dietary, and ceremonial.
Right.
Like, it's all stuff they put on it.
Again, that's why I said you can you can go on your favorite Bible app, whether it be Blue Letter, or if you got another one you love and you type in any of those words, it ain't gonna come up because it's not in the scriptures.
Like,
good.
It's like the Most High gave Moses the Torah. He didn't give him Judaism.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly. And it's like that's the thing that I think that kind of thinking, it just cripples our people. Now, if y'all as the true Gentiles want to cripple yourselves, have at it. But that's why we here is to be able to stop some of that for our own people, right? And again, if you look at the law the correct way and understand that every law from dietary to civil to moral to ceremonial, right? And that's why I say even sacrificial, because I heard another small hat talking about the sacrificial laws, which I guess that would still be up under ceremonial, right? But again, so if you want to do that for your people, that's fine. But for our people, we got to understand that every category that they break this law down into, over that, the heading should be moral, right? They all are moral laws, right?
Yeah, it's like everything they put on it, like it's the Bible. It was Eusebius who put Old Testament, New Testament.
Right.
Christ didn't follow Christianity. Like all this stuff is they put on it.
Right. It's like we talked about last week, right? Those different principles that came straight out of, and just those different ways of looking at things that just came straight out of the Nicaea Council, right? Like our people don't understand that what man decided this is not what God said this is. Right?
There you go.
And we got to respond to what? Follow God over man, right? To believe God over man, to follow God's laws over man. God's law is over, man's law any day. So again, if we put this all in its proper context, every law is moral. And I think I'm gonna do a whole lesson on that anyway, because it's just, to me, when you really dig into it, no one has the right to separate it, right? It's all moral law. It's all our duties. It's all our principles, laws, and rules, and that's all your moral code is based and founded on, right? So again, every law is moral. That's all I kind of wanted to touch on today. If you got something you wanted to add, or
no,
water to the side stopping by, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You pretty much touched on it. Like I was saying, man, like the Most High didn't give Moses Judaism. He gave him the Torah. Right. Christ didn't follow no religion called Christianity. They put that on them in Antioch. They called them Christians.
Right.
So
and look at the price they had to pay even in Antioch for some of these things. So when you think about what we've gone through just to be taught things that we ain't got no business doing, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You can't just go off of what people are putting on us and just go with it as it's law. Like nowhere, like the brother said, you can't search up all this stuff. They put civil, moral,
right,
ceremonial, all this. They put all that on there. None of it is in the Bible.
Right.
Like you can never look in the Torah and see civil law, moral law.
Right. It's just like spiritual Israel. You can type that in your BLB all you want. It's never gonna come together. You never
no such thing as spiritual Israelite. Like all this is they putting it on there.
Right.
So that's why the Bible says, "Study to show thyself approved."
Absolutely.
Once you study these things, you see all the stuff they added to the Bible.
Absolutely.
That's right. Sister Tanya said, yeah, they added it to the Bible. Yeah.
Is it? And that's why Christ was so against, religion, those traditions of men. Christ was against that. If you read the book and see how many times Christ condemned that or spoke of those people who believed in those things as hypocrites, right? That's what we're talking about, right? We're not supposed to take how somebody, encapsulated all of this stuff in a false way at that and just take that as law. Those are traditions of men. We're supposed to be separate from those traditions of men. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So just study to show yourself approved. Like if we was 2,000 years ago, and then after the death and burial and resurrection, and you go ask Peter if he a Christian, he gonna look at you crazy.
Right, crazy, right? If we
with him.
Right, that term was not a term of endearment when it was when it was first created. It was like nigga. It was speaking of those followers of Christ in a derogatory way. Yeah. But you see again when you see how we took things like that and just embraced it, right? But again, it's us not understanding who we really are, right? We ain't the people who's supposed to go and follow the people that just rehashed and recooked everything to make their own little recipe. That's not who we supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's a gift and a curse for us. Like we can take such things and flip it on his head. Like the word nigga.
Right.
At first it just means black man. Then they tried to flip it to a derogatory term. Right. And then we flipped it back into a word of endearment.
Right. Exactly. We great at it. You know what I'm saying?
Whether it's male or female. I see how women took the word bitch and flipped it on his head too. So male or female, it's a gift and a curse.
It is, but again, it's who we are, right? And that's why we talking about understanding that, even when you look at the language that the Bible is in, that's how you know other people can't really get it, because they don't speak like we speak, they don't think like we think, they don't form, terms the way we do, right? That's why you understand this Bible is written by a bunch of niggas and Latinos and Native Americans, man. Period.
Yeah, we can take one word, have several different meanings for it. Unless you understand context and black culture, you wouldn't understand what we're talking about.
Facts.
So, if anybody got any questions, man, y'all can go ahead and put it in the chat. Any suggestions on classes you want to reach out to the brother that he can do, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. And if y'all don't, man, just email me. It might not pop up in your head right now. I seen somebody ask a question about the Most High shorten up time and the mark of the beast, but I think some of y'all already touched on that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like as far as the mark of the beast, once the mark of the beast happen, man, all these stuff supposed to happen fast.
Right. And
The
again,
7 vials supposed to happen fast.
Right. Right. And again, when you see women bragging about getting a chip in their nails, man, even that's closer than you think, man. I'm telling you, it's closer than you think.
Yeah. Hey, we 89 seconds until doomsday, man. So
it's crazy. It's crazy. But again, that's why you see Hebrew Israelites, you know, you always see us say things like, what a time to be alive, because we've been studying this way for a long time now. And when you see these things play out almost exactly like how you've been taught it, and then how you go out and teach it, and how you've understood it, it's a beautiful thing. You know, of course, there's going to be some scary things on the way, absolutely, but it's a beautiful time when you understand, like the scriptures say, these things must come to pass. You know what I mean? You understand that.
Yeah, matter of fact, I'm gonna get a scripture. Matthew 24:14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. So if it was dealing with Christianity, the end should have came 2,000 years ago.
Should have been came, right? They'll tell you, the thousands of years that they've been doing this, so we should have been there. You know what I'm saying?
Like, so this is what it means, like, this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached. It's talking about the Israelites' understanding. Exactly. What you call them Hebrew Israelites, what you call them crazy brothers on the corner, is their understanding of what the Bible is saying. And you see how vast and how far this message has reached. Exactly. Now you start to see things happening. It's starting to come very rapidly. Exactly. Like when I first came to the truth, none of these things were happening, man. We look crazy talking about, hey, man, Russia and China going to turn on America and they're going to shoot nukes on them. You know how crazy that looked when we first came in?
It's forming and shaping up now. Right.
Now you see it happening.
Right. Crazy. No. And it's funny, too, even the verse in Acts 2 about the Most High pouring out his spirit on all flesh, right? Mm-hmm. That's why you get, dreams and certain things where young brothers is basically prophesying who don't even have the understanding that we have, who ain't even in this book studying, because the Most High basically said he will use everybody to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And when like I said, it's almost scary when you see somebody who don't have the time in and the frame of reference that we have and the understanding that we have speak on something almost like a play-by-play description of something in a book that a brother don't even know nothing about. It's crazy. It's crazy. You know what I mean?
Like when you read in the book of Revelation and it's talking about how the EU is going to turn on America. And when I first came in there, and you be like, ain't no way. And then Trump started putting in these tariffs, and now you see the EU starting to turn on America.
Turning quick, too.
Like, bro, it should be crazy. And that's what I'm saying. And this is just us dealing with years in the truth. When we first came in and you start going out and teaching these things, you're like, I don't see it right now. Right. And then to see all these things come to pass right now in considerably a short amount of time.
Really? I mean, really? Because
really, it's
right. If I'm going about to be on 8 years, you got to be closer to 8.5, 9. You know, using like you know what I'm saying? Like we spent the better part of a decade doing this, right? But even that's not a long time.
It's not a long time. So
not a long time. This stuff is popping off quick, man.
Yeah. So shoot, you're right, man. Mine's 9 years.
It's crazy, bro.
Because I remember summers. I came in I started knowing about the truth summer 16, right? 2016. Mm-hmm. And then I got active a year later.
Right. And I was coming in after you was active, a good 7-8 months or so.
No, I knew about it. You came in right when I started getting active.
Yeah, because like I said, I always remember me for a long time. It was just me, you, and Ricab out there. Man.
Yeah, right down the street. It was just me, you, and Ricab. So that's what I'm saying. So once I got to the streets and got active, that's when he started coming in.
Crazy, bro. It's crazy, man.
And you be out there, yeah, man. Russia go do this, China gonna do this.
Niggas like,
you don't see it. And then, like you say, considerably a short amount of time, because it's like a little under a decade. Then you see this stuff happening, you be like, whoa. We right there on the brink.
Facts. It was something I wanted to hit too. That you saying. Let me see. I got to think about what that verse is. But go ahead. I'm gonna find it.
Yeah. So like when I started getting active in as far as going to the streets and teaching, like he started coming in. So it was only me, Rakab, and Zumyar.
Right.
Out there, I still remember out there in the rain.
Right.
with another Miss Lady, but we ain't gonna speak over her name.
Right. Yeah, right.
But no, man. So I got active, and then you just to see all this unfold, and then you come in the truth, and then even within the community, you see all of it unfold. You see the arguments, you see the debates, you see people going back and forth. You see people argue with each other, then be cool with each other, then back arguing with each other, then back cool with each other. So as far as the community wise, man, I don't take none of it too serious, man, because eventually they'll be back cool. I see Deacon not too long ago, Deacon and Cesaria got back cool on the app again.
Beautiful, man. You know what I mean? Because and let's be real, you know, unless somebody commits a real infraction against you or your family, that's how it should be, bro. You ain't done nothing to me that I should have a real issue with you over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then because Cesaria had a beautiful soundbite. He said, "Man, fuck Deacon," and I truly mean it. And to see them, and to see them make up again, like it's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing, man. And again, all brothers who I've definitely looked up to and appreciate. You know, I wouldn't have the understanding I have without you and brothers like that. And even Gorilla, you know what I mean? You just gotta call a spade a spade. I wouldn't. So when you see them have that separation like that, or something that seemed like a beef, and you see them come back and clean that up, like it's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah. All credit to Gorilla for my growth in the truth. All these people had a factor. Deacon, Hassad, Gorilla, all these people had a factor in my growth. So,
I wanted to bring this out too, though. I bring this out of camp a lot, but for those, because we've been out there so long, and we have probably seen literally tens of thousands of people just walk by and act like we crazy and act like So this is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 11. It says, "For whoso despises wisdom and nurture," that's what we're doing. We out here trying to nurture our people, right? Because nurturing is about teaching and bringing good things, right? That's what we're trying to do for our people, right? It says, "For whoso despiseth wisdom and nurture, he is miserable, and their hope is vain, their labors unfruitful, and their works unprofitable." And that's what we're trying to teach our people, is to not continue to have our labors be unfruitful and our works and our hope being vain and our works be unprofitable. That's what we are here to do. And in doing so, trust me, we done caught the evil eye and the side eye, and niggas want to shoot you and stab you and fight you. We done seen all these things happen.
We done been through it all.
We done seen all these things happen. But it's like the verse that talks about, us making ourselves a spectacle for the Most High. We would gladly, if the Most High give us another 20 years and before we out of here, we gladly continue to keep making ourselves a spectacle for him. You know what I mean? As simple as that.
Yeah, it don't look like these people got anything to say, man. You ready to wrap it up?
Let's do it.
All right, and with that, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach, Yahweh Shai. Shalom, family.
Shalom.